Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. We want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, I get to speak with a TEDx speaker, Holli Shan. I had the opportunity to attend TEDx Ashburn, their first ever, and she was one of the first speakers to speak about her passion and what she's been doing with her life. She comes from a background of animal communication and has experience with human communication, which she then translated to just, basically she's an animal whisperer. And listening to her story and her journey, I was just totally blown away. I was like, holy smokes, that's amazing. Like, I almost feel like that sometimes. Like, wait, so why aren't people understanding me? But luckily, as human beings, we have words. And I'm proud to bring Holli Shan to the podcast. Hey, Holli, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Awesome. So tell me, how did you, I heard the TEDx talk. I watched you, perform it tremendously beautifully. And people who haven't seen your TEDx talk yet, how would you describe your story? Like, give us a little rundown.
My story, wow. My story, it's one of those, I became an animal communicator because I wasn't completely understanding my own pets. And I've always been that animal person. I've always, gravitated towards animals more so than other people. And so, I had that time where I said, okay, I know you're trying to tell me something. I don't know what this is. There has got to be a better way. And then that's when I met my first teacher. And I mentioned her in the TEDx, Janet Dobbs, and I just learned about this thing called intuitive animal communication. And I was shown that, yes, this kind of communication is real. Communicating with other beings in this way is very possible and it's very real. We just have to learn how to do it. And so I learned how to do it and just, went from there. And years later, I was highly encouraged to go do this as a profession. And I said, okay, I guess it's time to do it now. It's time to, bring this to a much bigger, a much bigger stage and a much bigger scale.
That's really, really awesome. See, the one thing that spoke out to me is, you learned something. First of all, you were solving your own problem and you looked into it and it became a passion for you, because when you solve your own problems, it's no longer a job. It's
Right.
more of a passion project. And when you solve that problem and people see, oh, wow, that's pretty awesome, you should do this for others. And then it becomes a career. And that's where, I don't know if you can call it the American dream, but I know that is,
Well, I
that
think
is the dream.
I think it's a dream when someone, when someone's able to solve their own problem and have that, and also have that passion for this thing that they do, and then they can go out and bring it to a worldwide stage, for the betterment of others. I think that's more of like I guess you could say more like a global dream, if you will. More like a worldwide dream, say, hey, I've got something here that we can do better, that we can bring some goodness to the world. And one of the things that I say is that my mission is to bridge the gap of understanding between people and their animal companions, because once we can bridge that gap, then we can have a happier home. And if we can have a happier home and a more harmonious house, then we can bring that to to our community and to the to the bigger community around us.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Mhm.
And another thing that you mentioned in your speech was how animals are other beings on this
Mhm.
planet, right?
Yep.
We are the human being and they are other beings,
Mhm.
and we need to treat them similar as we
Mhm.
treat other human beings. And what's funny is that sometimes we don't even treat other human beings nicely.
Right, right. And that's, it's funny that you bring that up because excuse me, because I would always say, yeah, I don't, people say, well, why don't you work with people? And I say, well, I don't like people. But I'm great at customer service.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until all that long ago where I said, you know what? It's not so much that I don't like people, but what I don't like is the cruelty and just the violence that other people and the indignity that other people inflict on other people.
Yeah.
And that if we could truly, treat each other with, and like I say this all the time, and you heard me say it, with
Hmm.
honor, dignity, respect, with courtesy and compassion, if we can treat each other, in this way, then yeah, we could have a better world. So I don't like it when other people are cruel and unnecessarily cruel or violent or just dismissive. For
Yeah.
lack of a better word, I'm not even sure what the proper word would be
Hmm.
for what other people do to other people. That's nasty.
Yeah. I totally copy that. One thing my friend Rob House mentioned is hurt people hurt people.
Yep.
And that's what
Mhm.
it is, right? People who are acting dismissive or acting, it's because they've got a ton on their own minds
Oh, yeah.
and they don't know how to solve that problem. They
Mhm.
are,
Or
you
they
know,
might not be willing.
that's true. That's
Mhm.
very true. They might not be willing, or maybe they don't know what help they need because once you're set in a routine, you only know how to do one type of thing. And then and if you're not an open minded person, you end up being in that corner. And maybe maybe they have an agenda
Mhm.
where they just they want everybody to think like them.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy because some people can be so very super set, in
Hmm.
their ways. And like you said, have an agenda. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't quite go this way, then it's wrong. Or if it
Hmm.
doesn't quite go this way, oh my gosh, it's all screwed up,
Yeah.
or what have you. And so for some people, it's almost you have to in working with that and working with those kinds of people, it's almost like you have to say, well, could you be open to a different possibility?
Yeah.
Could we open this door? Because thing is, you can never really open a door gracefully by battering it down.
Hmm.
It's like you can't beat the point into someone else's head. If someone's that rigid, you
No,
have to at least give them the invitation to walk through that door.
exactly.
And with animals, I don't find that. Um, they're very willing, they're very open, and animals are not as hung up as we are. They are not as complex as we are,
Yeah.
on some of those things. I mean, granted, and they will say, yeah, they are creatures of habit. Well, of course, when they want their dinner time, they want their dinner time at 5 o'clock,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
daylight savings time will screw that up. So it takes a minute, for them to get back to it. So yeah,
Interesting.
there's that routine, but for the greater breadth and depth of
Hmm.
of what they are and just living, they're not as hung up as we are.
No, no, that's so true because they're harmonious with the world,
Hmm.
right? One quote that I'll always remember from The Matrix is when Agent Smith has Morpheus down. He's like, I've looked at the entire planet Earth, and I've looked at all the species of animals that are on this earth, and I don't understand human beings. Like they are not the same as animals because they will go into an area and devour or
Hmm.
basically use up all the resources, and then they go up. And a similar animal that's close to that is the virus because they're taking over, they're destroying, whereas animals, they just take what they need and they just move on,
Hmm.
which is really, I was like, that's a good analogy.
Yeah,
And but I mean, that's not all humans, it's only a fraction of them. Or maybe,
exactly.
it all comes down to, okay, well, what's the worldview? We're living in a global world. I mean, now in 2019, in the 20, almost close to the 22nd century, we're looking at a lot more globalization. We're looking at a lot more people opening up about what they're doing, and there's a lot of movements, sustainability and whatnot. And like I look to animals, and being a beekeeper myself, I look at the bee life and how they how they are assimilating with the world is just amazing. Of like what we need to mimic, or what we need to at least learn from and be part of this world, rather than like, oh, I'm just going to be here for 80 years, I'm just going to destroy whatever, leave others to fix my
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah, and it's wild. It's wild because there are so many times when when I'll look at the animals and go, wow, how are you able to forgive? I'll never forget
Mhm.
when everything with Michael Vick was going down, and I looked at my one dog who was with me, and I looked at her and I said, how are you guys able to forgive?
Mhm.
How are you able to do that? And she had just this grace and just this immediacy about her, and she just said, well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just able to do that. And it's because they weren't necessarily holding a grudge. They don't hold that grudge. I mean, their body will hold on to a trauma,
Mhm.
but that's a whole other topic.
That's a physical. Yeah,
that,
that's
that
so
yeah that,
physical.
that's a
Yeah.
whole other podcast.
Mhm.
um but in terms of mentally, in terms of like holding a grudge, they don't do that. That's why so many other animals who have come from abuse cases are still able, a lot of them are still able to trust again.
Yeah.
So it's huge, and it's one of those things where I think with us, with humans as beings and as species, I think a lot of us want to take the easy way out. I mean, in sales, they'll do that too, right? They'll
Yeah.
do, they'll say, okay, make it easy for the customer, so the customer doesn't have to think. Let's do that. When you're programming your website, program it for your lowest common denominator, so they don't have to think, so it's not complicated.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times with people, you know, a lot I think people have decided to not think as much or think for themselves as much, and they want to be led.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, and I think that's this weird cycle of things. And then of course you have the few you have the few people who decide, I'm going to think for myself, and you know what, that's not cool.
Mhm.
So, and with animals, yeah, they can be led, but they'll be led when they are convinced that you are leader enough for them.
Ah.
So, I mean, and there are some that are just, you know what, I know this, and when you decide to make up your mind, I'm going to be over here. So
Wow.
it's just it's definitely been an incredible journey with, working with the animals, and, just working with them, and the whole thing of also getting to, working with myself, because there's a whole evolution that goes on, and
Yeah.
working with another species. And I'm sure you've noticed that too, being a beekeeper.
Mhm.
As you work with them, you can start to, have that, be reflected back, back in yourself, if that
Mhm.
just makes any sense.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You're totally right. It's like you become a much calmer person when you're around bees,
Mhm.
because if you're rushing them, or you're being rushing, they're gonna notice that, and they're gonna attack.
Mhm.
And you don't want to be attacked by thousands of bees.
Right.
And you're right, animals notice that. One thing that one episode of Dog Whisperer, I think I watched a long time ago,
Mhm.
and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was saying birds have a higher level of leadership than any other animals. And there was this one household where they had the white parrot, the cockatiel,
Mhm.
and how anytime he would enter the room, all other animals would become submissive. And I was like, that is so interesting. But
Mhm.
the dog was not being submissive with the owner,
Mhm.
because the owner wasn't being the alpha, I guess it's
Right.
the proper term.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So the owner probably wasn't being the leader. And I'll tell you what. I'll throw out another word at you here is
mhm.
authenticity.
Mm,
Animals can tell, and just like children can tell when you're not being authentic at all. And what I mean by that is, when what you're feeling does not match what you're thinking,
mhm.
and if the words that are coming out of your mouth are not matching any of those,
Yeah.
then they absolutely know that. They absolutely know that. And that's why I tell people a lot, it's okay to speak into your feelings
Mhm.
when you're working with your animals, when you're dealing with your animals. If you're having a hard time, it
Yeah.
is okay to be honest with them, because you're coming from an authentic place and they're
Yeah,
willing to work with you there.
that's
So I mean, it's the same for horses too.
yeah,
But yeah, but that's totally, and I'm sure with the bees, the bees are probably saying, you know what, just settle down,
yeah.
because we don't need this frenetic energy here.
Mhm.
So settle down, because if you can settle down and be calm, you're welcome. But otherwise, go away.
No,
I'm feeling this, as you were talking
yeah.
about that with your bees.
No, absolutely. And when you mentioned talking to your feelings, and one of my friends, Lila Smith, she used to be in theater, but she started some this new thing called Say Things Better,
Hmm.
and she has something called Verb Your Words, something like that, where you think of a verb, and when you talk, you're trying to say things that match that verb. So whenever it comes out, it sounds more authentic, or it sounds like the intonation tells people, like, and that's what happens. That's what you're mentioning, is when you're feeling one way and you're saying something else altogether, children can tell that you're not being authentic. You're not really saying what you mean, and animals can do the exact same thing.
Right,
So that's really
right.
cool.
Exactly. And a lot of people like to say, oh, well, animals don't understand the words that you're saying. It doesn't matter what language you're speaking, words are
Mhm.
icing on the cake for
Yes.
what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could come out with a little bit of Yiddish, to my
Mhm.
dog, and he'll know, and he can obey that command
Yeah.
because he knows what I mean, and
Mm.
it's just, and like I said, that's just icing on the cake. It doesn't matter.
That's really
You have to truly feel it and
mm.
mean it and visualize it, and then hold
Yeah.
that in your mind's eye clearly of what it is you want them to do.
Wow.
As you're talking. So
All right, I've got a couple questions, and it has to do with dogs.
okay.
So all three of my neighbors around my house have dogs, right?
uh,
Um, one on one side, they have an electric fence. The dog comes out, and she's an older dog, so she'll come out and she'll look around and she'll bark once in a while, but not too much, and she's pretty calm.
mhm,
But then there's new neighbors that moved in, and they have two dogs, and they're both black dogs. I they might be. What am I thinking? I can't remember what type of dogs they are, but they're super black.
mhm,
The younger one is much larger, and as soon as she comes out, she starts barking if there's any people out there. And
mhm,
I've talked to the owner, and she said, she doesn't like guys at all. I'm like, well, how is she okay with your husband, right? So I'm like trying to decipher, like, so anytime the dog comes out and started barking, I try to go over there and I start, try to talk to her. But then, the owner comes in, she's like, all right, come on in, come on, go inside. So, and they did put a fence up just so the dogs won't get out of go run out away. So, so I was like, I'm going to ask Holly, what can we do to calm her down, right?
wow.
Because she's never had this issue before in my previous house, and then they had covered fences. This is a more open fence.
Mhm.
So I was like, I wonder what's going on through this dog's head.
Well, there could be any number of things. I mean, you say this dog is younger. Well, did they have this dog when the dog was a puppy?
Mm,
Did this dog, experience a trauma of some kind,
yeah.
at the hands of a man?
Mm,
Did this, and was the trauma, with a man who might have looked like you? Is
mm,
it just any man,
yeah.
anybody who's a guy, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and there could be a whole bunch of different factors there. So, I mean, the only thing, I mean, it's one of those things of, well, yeah, I don't even know where to start with that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it could be, did this dog suffer a trauma?
Mm,
Like I said, at the hands of a man. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that animals come out of the gate necessarily not liking, men or women or
yeah.
kids without them enduring a trauma at some point in their lives.
And that's what
Um,
trauma is, a much longer episode.
Yeah, I mean, and trauma, is anything that could have happened, anything that caused enough of enough of a shock, anything that caused enough of, a terror, if you will,
Oh, yeah.
to this dog by at the hands of somebody else.
Mhm.
And another way of saying it is, okay, well, somebody like this did dirty to them.
Makes
My
sense.
Comcast kicked in
Yeah.
here. So yeah, it's just like, when you have rescues, I had one dog who had a hard time with men as well. It took him a long time to come
Mm.
around to my husband. But when there were other men who came over who were very calm and very sweet and not very overbearing, he had
Mhm.
no problem with them.
Oh, okay.
So again, it's what caused that,
Mhm.
with that dog. What, with your neighbor's dog. So I'm wondering,
Mhm.
what happened. And she says, well, okay, she wasn't like this with our old house. Well, of course, she liked her old house.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
she's younger, she's probably spent the majority of her time in this
Mm.
old house, and it's probably going to be a matter of time
Yeah.
before this dog can get used to her own surroundings, get comfortable with it, and realize, oh, well, this is my house, and that's my neighbor over
Yeah.
there, and okay, and he's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So, and the big thing is, like, I don't know if you have a backyard or a back deck or just a way just to sit out and just to sit
Mhm.
with them, like you in your house and her at her
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
I just sit, and just so she can just get used to seeing you,
Mm.
and then
That's
you
good.
can work on maybe walking by. You can't help the situation by coming up to them and having her bark her full head off until she decides,
Yeah.
oh, I don't feel like barking anymore. That never works. I won't tell you, I guarantee you that never works. So, because part of that is that this dog needs to realize that you are not an enemy, that you are not a threat,
Yeah.
and that can only come in time.
Mhm.
And it might be, you're gonna have to deal with this dog barking her full head off at you,
Yeah. True.
um whenever you walk by, or
Yeah.
just, or like I said, come on out and just, you sit in your property and she can sit
Yeah.
hers, and just, do as you do, do your
Mhm.
thing,
Yeah.
um and be in your wonderful, calm, authentic place
Mm.
while she's out there, so that it's proving to her that, hey, this is who I am.
Yeah.
So, and
That's
like I
that's
said,
really good.
that will take time. I don't know if it's a lab, if it's German Shepherd, if it's a Newfoundland, if it's a Belgian Shepherd. There are so many black dogs out there.
Yeah, that's true.
And plus also, if the dog, it's hard. It's hard to tell. But all that to say, it really depends on the background of this dog. Why does
Big
she
time.
not like men?
Got it. Got
You
it.
know.
It's
So.
really, really good point. Very insightful.
Hmm.
And the second dog, so they have two dogs. The
Hmm.
second dog is smaller, but she never bark, or he. I'm not sure if it's a she or he,
Hmm.
but that dog never barks. I've seen that dog bark a couple of times, but that's because either they sensed we have a groundhog in our
Uh-huh.
backyard.
Yep.
So maybe the groundhog came out and maybe he's around, moving around. And anytime that happens, then the second dog barks. And the first dog is just curious. it's,
Hmm.
it's really interesting.
Yeah, because the second dog probably doesn't have to bark because the first one's doing all the barking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that'll happen a lot. You'll have a
Mhm.
pair of dogs, and you'll have one that'll be the mouthpiece,
Yeah.
and the other one won't do much barking at all.
Yeah. You turn all
So,
barking for me.
so yeah, and with groundhogs, it's funny because it also depends on what kind of prey drive, these dogs have.
Mm.
If they want to go after it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they certainly don't have to. My fuzzy girl, the one that I had that I was talking about earlier about,
Mhm.
when I was talking about the Michael Vick thing, she had a wicked prey drive, and
Mm.
she had a habit of taking out groundhogs,
Wow.
one and done. She was ruthless, and people are like, "Wow, and the groundhogs don't fight back." I said, "Nope,
They
there
don't
isn't
fight
any.
back, right?
There's no time. She didn't. They don't have any time."
Yeah.
Um, but we've since evicted them from the front of our house. And I tried talking to the groundhogs. I said, "Look, there's a killer here. you there is a killer here. If you go into the yard, you are going to lose your life if she is out there." And it's like, there was just this wall. They were like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." They, mm-mm.
Yeah.
There was no listening, and of course if a dog has a prey drive, I'm more than happy to encourage it, because
Hmm.
if it's their natural instinct, I don't
Yeah.
want to squash a natural instinct.
Exactly.
And I told her, I said, if they're in the yard and they can run, and
Hmm.
game on,
Yeah.
game on. If they get away, good for them. But if not, that's okay.
That's
But
okay.
that, and I don't know, you might get some, angry feedback from your listeners after I just said that. But
It's a natural way of life on
it
this
is.
planet Earth, right?
It is, yeah. Some dogs, some predators have a greater prey drive than others. And
Ah.
and that's it. I mean, my current dog now, he's got a wicked prey drive.
Hmm.
I haven't let him catch anything yet, but
Yeah.
nothing's but also nothing has come in the yard either.
Sure, sure. Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah,
But
that's pretty cool. That's really interesting.
sorry, that just totally tangented there off.
No, I love this tangent because, because that's being our authentic humans, because we're not designed to tug on one subject for hours.
Right.
No, that's really cool. I love it. I was thinking about, so yeah, in our yard, we have a pretty big yard here in Herndon,
Hmm.
and there's ton of running space, so those dogs have plenty of place to run. And I think this groundhog has been living under our shed or before we moved here, right?
Hmm.
So I just let it be there because I don't want to rip his home out. And
Sure.
if the dog catches, and then so my neighbor told me that he has a little hole under his shed. So what he did, he blocked the entrances on either side so the
Hmm.
dogs won't get in there. But
Hmm.
then he said the groundhog hasn't used that hole in a while. So I'm wondering where he's gone now. I mean, I see him every once in a while in the morning, but it's
Hmm.
really interesting.
He could have created another tunnel.
Yeah, he could have done that
I
too.
mean, the whole reason why we blocked off the hole under our porch is because our porch is cement, and
Hmm.
there was a massive hole under that. And I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "Guys, I'm sorry, I can't, I can't have you come up on my porch and
Yeah.
start chewing at my wooden threshold,
Hmm.
and I can't have you, totally annihilate,
Yeah.
this cement porch." So we covered it with a screen, with a metal screen, and
Hmm.
we made sure everybody was out. And
Yeah.
we put that up, and then we covered that with dirt. And I said, also, I can't have you guys constantly eating stuff in my garden,
Right.
because I would go to plant stuff and I would have these wonderful sunflowers. I'm like, great, they're tall, they're strong, that's wonderful.
They're
And I
gone.
come back and they're all cut off. And
Yeah. Yeah. Big time.
you've got to be kidding me, really?
Uh, So I think our neighbor has a Swedish laphund.
Okay.
It looks like that, at least from the
Hmm.
pictures.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. That was really insightful. Look at the history,
Yeah.
because and that's what we are, right? We form these notions and thoughts as we grow up based on our experiences. So
Hmm.
obviously it's gonna relate. All animals have that same brain functionality,
Hmm.
so to say.
Yeah, the body's is going to function the same. And the body will hold on to, any kind of, like I said, any kind of trauma or anything that has, that has happened to it.
Yeah.
Like if you think of, if you're in a car accident, if you're in a really bad bike wreck, then it might take some time before, you go ahead and, ride that specific way,
Mhm.
or, take that particular trail, or
Yeah.
do that same thing again, because your body's going, oh, wait a minute, this we wrecked here.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
we wrecked here. Your knee got split apart here. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
But you know what I mean. But it's that kind of thing that the body holds on to and remembers. And
that's
and it's the same thing with animals too, that when something like that happens,
yeah.
something similar, then that takes some time to work through, and work through and
Nice.
overcome.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Mhm.
All right, so we got some really good stuff in, really insightful about animals and human behavior, animal behavior. So you mentioned you have a horse
Yeah.
and you ride your horse. Now, is it a male or a female?
He's a male, so he's a
Female.
gelding. He's a
Gelding.
gelding, so which means he's been neutered.
Okay. Okay.
In the horse world, they call it gelding.
Okay.
They
Got it.
when they remove the part. So yeah, it's neutering for horses. But he's a gelding. He's a Norwegian fjord, and he's a very unique breed. He's very distinct. They're the ones that are cream color, and they have manes that stand up like a mohawk. So if you've seen the movie Frozen,
I have.
Yeah, you know the horses there by Prince Eric and Anne's, and yeah, those horses are fjords. They're Norwegian fjords.
Nice.
And he's just an amazing horse. I've had him since July of last year. So, and he's 6 years old.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, is he 6 or 7? Yeah, he's 6 or 7 now. I used to remember his age really, really well, but I think he's 6. But yeah, so he's 6, and he's wonderful, and he's actually one of those beings that demands that I be not just more than calm, similar to your bees, more than calm, but also grounded, but also serious. So I can't come at him with, oh hey my little honey.
No.
I mean, I could still do that to a point, but sure. As I'm grooming him, as I'm working with him, tacking him up, putting the equipment on, I can't be in this place of terror, because I do still have some anxiety in mounting up and in riding. That's just after years of falling off and things like that.
Of course.
And I have and so I still have that anxiety there that I'm working on. I have an amazing instructor to that helps me, that's helping me through that. And and I know this horse is not going to put a wrong foot forward.
Yeah.
He will not.
Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on their website, hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.
He acts more calm and well, he's just an amazing being. I don't even know how else to describe it.
Nice.
But it's like when I'm calm and when I'm serious about the work to be done, he'll stay put. Sometimes he likes to fidget because he's a young horse and like to fidget sometimes. And I've learned that when he fidgets, instead of me saying, "Oh, now stop it," instead of me saying that, I just take the hands off, stop, and look at him and go, "Okay, you done?
Yeah.
Or are we done here? Can I continue?"
Yeah.
And then just go on. So, but yeah, and when I hop on, he's just his greatest joy is working under saddle, is doing the work. And I need to bring myself up with that. And it's one of those things that when my heart called out to the universe for the next one, because I had one before, for my next horse, we said, okay, the universe kind of gave me what I needed. And it was nothing like I expected, because I never thought I would have a fjord ever.
Yeah.
I thought I'd have a quarter horse or something else that was mixed, never thought I'd have a fjord. But he's great for me because he's going to help bring me forward.
Nice.
He's the one who's really going to help me through and out of the anxiety and help me do this thing that I'm just, really passionate about, and get back to that. And hopefully I can start learning mounted archery on him.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
I don't know if you want to know all that, but
I do. I have a huge fascination for horses. Like the longest time growing up, I think I saw the movie Black Stallion and all these horse movies, right? And I just have this huge fascination, and I've always wanted to go on horseback riding, right? So, and I never ended up going. But then on our honeymoon, like many years ago, we went to Hawaii and they had horseback riding. I was like, awesome, I'm going to go horseback riding. And I think the horse that I rode was a, what's those horses with big hooves? I used to remember. It's the one they use for Budweiser commercials.
Oh, Clydesdale?
Yes. So the horse that I rode was a Clydesdale, a very firm, very calm horse. And it was just a fun experience. Like, I'm like, whoa, this is so much fun. And since then I've been like, all right, I'm going to go horseback riding again. It's been 13 years and I haven't gone back. And I was like, okay, I need to find somewhere close, because, I drive on Georgetown Pike all the time, and I see there's, horse ranches and horse school and whatnot. I was like, it would be so cool.
Try driving down Route 15.
Yeah. So
yeah. There's a lot there. The barn that I board my horse is off of 15 as well.
Nice.
So we could probably hook you up.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'll come by, visit. honey, I'm gonna go see Holli Shan. We're gonna go horseback riding.
We're gonna go horseback riding, yeah.
That's
we're
awesome.
gonna take, we'll go. I mean, I don't know where all the trails are, but we'll take my assistant barn manager. She'll go take us, and
nice.
We're gonna go for a ride.
That's awesome. What's funny is I have 3 kids, 9, 4, and 1, and the oldest one, he's a Bear Scout. So we went hiking this one time, and we were all waiting at Riverbend Park. And as I pulled up and I parked my car and walking up, there's these 2 people getting on their horses, and they're gonna go walk the trail. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. And then recently, my brother-in-law, he got horseback riding lessons for both his daughter and his 5-year-old son at the Frying Pan Park. So they've been riding horses basically every weekend for the past 2 weekends, maybe. So I was like, whoa, that's so cool. They are some of the most amazing animals. Cool. All right. So this is a good point. Let's ask some questions that I asked my guests. What is one hobby that you wish you got into? It looks like you went into a lot of the things that you love to do, but maybe there's a hobby left untouched.
Yeah, I think I wish I could have done, some more hiking, because I do enjoy, being out in the woods. I do enjoy, being outside, and I think I wish I could have picked up hiking as more of a hobby, because I see all the wonderful things and just like to be that serious outdoorsy type person. I think that would be a lot of fun, because I don't know how to do half the thing that anybody else does, except for maybe hopefully get the right boot, while I'm, while I'm out walking on a trail. So, doing that, I think that's one thing I wish I could have picked up a little bit more.
Nice. Hiking is amazing. I haven't hiked as much as I would like to as well. It's life, right? We're commuters in this concrete jungle. We're just driving everywhere, and there's just so little time. And I've told my wife, we need to go out walking and hiking more. So now that the weather is getting better, we're gonna pick that up, hopefully. All right, sweet. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Wow. Yeah, it's funny because I think about that question. I think about, really I have to pick just one. I mean, so for movie, I would have to say The Princess Bride, because we will watch it all the time. We quote it all the time. That movie was a staple with my friends in college. So I have an extremely soft spot in my heart for The Princess Bride.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's that one, and not to mention, Mark Knopfler playing the music in it. Was also great. And then for favorite TV show, that one's kind of rough because we've been watching Big Bang Theory, so that one's fun just because we're familiar with those people. Like we've gone to college with those people, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, we don't do TV as much anymore as we used to. Although be honest here, Holly, Doctor Who. I'm a huge Doctor Who.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love Doctor Who.
I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, and I'm I'm upset because I haven't been able to watch Jodie Whittaker's season, so I'm hoping to pick up on that.
I don't know if I finished the latest season or not, but so since Doctor Who's your favorite TV show, right?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Doctor?
Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay, if we're going into originals, with the original series,
I haven't seen the original series, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you anyway.
Okay.
If it's the original series, I would have to say John Pertwee, because I met the man.
Oh, nice.
I met him at a convention. He was very cool. Let's see, for the new series, I would have to say David Tennant. I love David Tennant. He was so much fun. He embodied a lot. And I would have to say, I can't say honorable mention, but I also I really enjoyed Peter Capaldi. I enjoyed him because I think embodied a lot of the rage that the Doctor had. You figure like over 900 years old, something's got to be brewing, and I think he brought that. And I think David Tennant brought this. he brought the seriousness, he brought this wonderful sense of chaos, but he still brought the compassion, he still also brought the rage too. But it's like, David Tennant is, for this season, or for this
absolutely
newer incarnation, I should say.
You're right, and I never noticed the rage, and you've seen the original series, so of course you know that better. Yeah, David Tennant did an excellent job, and then I saw David Tennant, on Jessica Jones, and I was like, wow, like, can this man do any better?
You know what? He's also brilliant in Hamlet. If you can watch him as Hamlet, he's brilliant.
Okay.
Oh, the man can do no wrong. I mean, what? Yeah. See if you can catch, like, on Netflix or something, and I forget which specific production it is, but
I'll find it.
Catch him doing Hamlet.
Nice. That's awesome.
Unreal. Yeah.
I would never have pinned you for a Doctor Who fan.
Oh yeah, and I'm a Star Trek and Star Wars fan too.
Oh, have you seen the latest Star Trek? The Discovery?
No, we haven't caught Discovery yet.
Okay. All right. I just finished the 2 seasons, and I was like, wow. Because I didn't grow up in the United States, so I never really got into the original Star Trek. And I've been wanting to get into it, but I was like, I can't watch 50 years of 50 seasons of.
We call that binge watching.
That'd be 3 years of my life watching Star Trek. But they did a really good job, and I got into Star Trek when they did the new reboot of the movies. I was like, all right, okay, there's something to see here. And, this new the new 2 seasons took me a while to get into it, because kids and time, it's just forever.
Sure. Now the Orville isn't bad either.
Oh my God, Orville is amazing.
Their writers are spot on. Holy cow! I mean, because for as funny and as flip as they are, they have that way of just getting in there, just on the, way to go on the social topics, guys.
Yeah.
My God.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And not just that, but also, like, it all came out to be, okay, this is going to be a comedy. They're going to rip everything off. But no, it's very, very original.
Yeah, it's a good show. And then, like, the way, and the way they've categorized the Mocklins, with their whole society and everything. And we were just we were catching up on the DVR last night.
Yeah.
On some of them, going, wow. Or we could look at it and say, you know what? Yeah, that's the episode where Next Gen had the 2 Rikers. So for all that I am, an environmentalist and definitely part of animal welfare causes and things like that. I am a sci-fi fantasy geek.
Nice. Sure. What's interesting is, now that you're mentioning, that Orville and the Star Trek, so maybe. So from my perspective, Orville is brand new to me, since I've never seen the original Star Trek. So are they taking stories from the original Star Trek and bringing to Orville?
Not as such. So it's not like Orville is tracking with and recreating the stories that were of original Star Trek, or even of Next Gen. But on the one episode that we saw, there was one where the Orville went through, like, some kind of thing that screwed around with the timeline, and so they wound up bringing back a younger Kelly. I'm forgetting the character's last name. The commander. So it brings back a younger her, and so now you have 2 of the same person on board, which in Next Gen there was a transporter malfunction or something that created 2 Rikers.
Okay.
Either created 2 or pulled one from another timeline. I forget exactly what. Yeah. Okay, it's got a similarity here. So they don't fully bring on the full timeline. They just have similarities or nods to other issues that were touched on back in the other series, and they're doing them in a really neat way.
Yeah. No. So, I guess if I had to compare anything at all, it's like Simpsons is the original Star Trek. The Family Guy is the Orville.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because Seth MacFarlane.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
I guess you could say it that way.
And only somebody who's seen, the Star Trek and Simpsons and that parallel can understand. Wow, like whoa.
Right.
Nice. Well, that was awesome. That was a really cool tangent on superheroes or movies, TV shows. Two more questions.
Sure.
And so who is your favorite superhero?
I think about that, and I love Xena, Xena Warrior Princess.
Yes, I remember.
Love her. And if I have to go to a comic book hero, I would say Green Arrow.
Okay.
Because I love archery.
Yeah.
And I just love this archer, who uses his rage as a point of power, and I think I like that a lot with heroes as well. When they have this this anger and this rage, but that's their core of their power to still win the fight, as it were. That's just what I like to see in my heroes. So, but I love Xena, and I love the way Lucy Lawless played her.
Nice.
So total, total
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember absolutely watching those shows growing up here. All right, last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. It's not quite a board game, but okay. I would say Cards Against Humanity.
Cards Against Humanity.
Because you never know what weird. I mean, when I'm really casual, with friends, some of it, you never know what weird thing is going to come out of my mouth, or what irreverent thing is going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So, and also it tends to be a little bit different. And also, I haven't played a whole heck of a lot of board games, so that's the closest thing I can think of is Cards Against Humanity.
Okay. I haven't played that game yet. I've heard a lot about it, and I think I want to play that game because I have kids around. And when the kids are too tired.
Yeah, you don't want to play the game with kids.
No.
I mean, it was weird enough playing. It was weird. I'll tell you what. It was weird enough playing that game with my nephews who are, like, who are young adults now.
Sure.
And playing in front of them with the whole family, and my parents are there.
Yeah.
And I just, wow, that just happened. We just said this in front. My nephew just said that. And I have to remember, like, no, my nephew's grown up now. He's, they're grown men, and they can say things like that. And I'm going, who taught you how to say that?
That's hilarious.
But you do not want to play Cards Against Humanity with your kids at all. Yeah. That's something that you get together with your buddies, and you just have a time where you laugh, and you just have a bunch of time where you're just not right.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Holly, this was really great. I absolutely love talking to you. We could go on for another 30 minutes or an hour.
Dude, yeah, I could talk. I could talk you for all you're off. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to do another episode, and we could talk about the trauma, and pick some more of these things that we like to talk about. Where can my audience find you?
Sure. So they can find me online. My website is www.compassionspeaks.com.
Awesome.
So that's my website, and all my contact information is there. They can also, I also have a wonderful free Facebook group community called the Peaceful Pet Playground.
Ooh,
and that's where we like to, and that's a drama-free Facebook community where we get to just talk about our animals, talk about things that work, what doesn't work, and we can help each other out with advice, and of course lots of photos.
Nice. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Holly. I'll be sure to include these links on the show notes for this episode and let you know when it comes out.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.